Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and today's topic is CEOs are looking, successful CEOs are shifting to look at this metric, this key performance indicator, this KPI. And what is it? It's about being able to see what is really going on. It's about seeing actual profit. So, here, let me share this with you. So, if you take a look at this, we have inflation going. So this is more about, high inflation environment. You need to adapt what you're tracking for your key performance indicators. So we have rising inflation. It's gone from 2% to about 8% in the last 18 months. So your percent sales growth needs to be higher and faster than inflation, because the gap between the inflation rate and your sales growth and your percent sales growth, right? This is percents to percents, the percent inflation versus your percent sales growth. That's real growth. Now, some companies are going to get caught. Some CEOs are going to get caught with going, you know what? Inflation's rising or sales are rising. This is good. We're riding inflation. It looks good. The problem is they're they're not really growing the company. They're just treading water. That creates an opportunity for you because they're tracking the wrong KPI. That creates an opportunity for you to be tracking the correct KPI, which is the real sales growth. The difference between inflation rate and actual sales growth. When you've got a gap there and your sales growth is a higher percentage rate than the inflation rate, that gap is what your real growth is in high inflation times. This is something that a lot of CEOs, a lot of business leaders, managers are going to miss, because most of our workforce, most of our entrepreneurs today have not experienced high inflation. That was something we haven't seen since the early 1980s. It's been 40 years, 50 years since we really had that kind of whack, whack, whack. It was just crazy in those times in terms of inflation rate and the effect that that had on everything else. So, in terms of leading effectively, growing your company effectively, that's something that you need to do. And I always like to do an on this day. So, speaking of being able to see, on this day in 1889, George Eastman sold his rolled film, which you may have seen when you were younger. If you haven't watched a movie, you'll probably see it coming. Goes in cameras, it's cellulose. Sold his first rolled film on April 6th in 1889. And that forever changed how we see history, because now photos were far more accessible. There were photos before that, right? Photography started well before 1889. Eastman created an inflection point in photography, because now it was a lot faster, it was a lot easier to develop, it was a lot more portable, more people had access to it. So we were getting, there was a boom in being able to photograph family life, historical events, war, right? Weddings, the good things in life, and be able to share that so people could actually see what did that look like, even if it was sometimes in black and white, or not very, very good color. You could still see, which is a huge difference, right? Just like being able to see your real profit, your real sales growth versus what inflation is driving. Your competitors likely going to be missing that point. And then I've got an announcement here, a little something to share. On April 7th, we've got another interview. I just finished Giant Success. Get this here so we can all get in the view. I finished reading Giant Success by Doug Wing. He is the former vice chairman of the Little Giant Ladder Company. You may have one of those in your garage, right? If not, I'll bet you know somebody that does. And he's going to be talking with us at 9:30 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. Pacific time on April 7th about his experience with the Little Giant Ladder Company as a leader. What he learned from his dad. He had a great relationship with his dad, which is hugely important, guys. Right, right. And probably be talking about fast cars and motorcycles a little bit too, because he and I have something in common there as well. So track the right KPI, make that shift, right? Shift your people to watching real growth. That is the rate of change faster, the rate of growth in sales faster than the inflation rate, the rate of profit growth faster. So that drives everything. Without that perspective, you could be in for a bad surprise down the road. See you on April 7th at 9:30 a.m. Remember, this is live and interactive. So bring your comments, bring something to write with. This is going to be a fun conversation with Doug Wing on April 7th at 9:30. Make that shift if you haven't already to tracking real growth, which is the gap between how fast inflation is growing and the rate of growth the percentage of growth in your sales. So you can track those two rates. You need that to be positive in order to actually have growth in your business in high inflation times. This is Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and I will see you on the trail.